After some terrific music, now it's time to welcome in Williams Women's Wellness and Education. And our show was all about getting the word out in a positive way. And I was contacted by Melanie on Facebook. And Melanie, I'm so happy to have you and the group on the show, because I think through all the good things you're doing, you can make such a difference for so many women out there who want to live a long and healthy life.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. That is our goal. My name is Melanie Rasmussen. Just so you know who I am, my background is in education. I'm a New York State certified special ed and elementary ed teacher. And I provide and bring that education and apply it in so many different ways now in helping women in particular. I bring my three friends with us, and I'll introduce them in a moment, but together we formed an organization called Women's Wellness and Education. What we've seen is women in particular, moms especially, we put ourselves last. We take care of everybody else. We take care of our families, our children, our spouses, our jobs, and have very little time left over for ourselves at the end of the day. And it's challenging, and if you go on, I know you're on Facebook, so are we, Facebook in particular can be an amazing place and a pretty ugly place. There are times where women in particular really kind of tear each other down, tear each other apart. And so what we're trying to do with Women's Wellness and Education is the opposite. It's all about supporting women, educating, sharing, celebrating each other, and really bringing out the best in all of us. So I bring with me my friends Jenny Salmon, Cherie Jeans, Barbara Grova, and me. And as I said, together we form Women's Wellness. We do have a mission statement. Our mission is we are all about empowering women, educating, sharing, connecting, supporting, inspiring, and celebrating women. It's all about health and wellness for women, building relationships and friendships, working towards something greater than our individual selves. It's a work in progress, it's a journey, and although we're not exactly sure where we're gonna land yet or where we'll end, we are enjoying every bit along the way. So we invite you to join in this journey with us, to invite your moms, your daughters, your sisters, your colleagues, your friends. Together we can truly do more. So that's our mission. We hold monthly events. We're based out of Suffolk County, but we're happy to come to Nassau County. Monthly events, and they're usually at a women-owned, wellness-related business, because we are about supporting women-owned businesses as well. And how we got started, really, Barbara reminded me a while ago, is Barbara will share in a few moments her story of inspiration of how she survived breast cancer and treated herself holistically. She didn't tell a lot of people in the beginning, and she'll go into more of that, but for about 9 months she didn't tell anybody. And one day I was having a conversation with her, and she said, I just feel so alone. And I said, that's because you haven't told anybody. We need to have you tell your story. It's a powerful, powerful story. You need to tell it because it'll be helpful for you, and you need to tell it because you can help so many women. And so our first event was centered around that, was really having a platform for Barbara to share her story. And we'd only planned on having one event, but it was so amazing and we got such fantastic feedback that it became a thing. And so now it's a monthly event that we have.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you. So Barbara, my dear friend Barbara and I have been very good friends for about 13 years now. Her background is that she's a certified holistic nutritionist. She is a wealth of information. She is all about helping and educating families to make better food choices for themselves. And as you said before, all about educating and being able to live a long, happy, healthy life. Barbara has two practices, successful practices, called Nutritional Healing, both in the North Shore of Suffolk County, one in East Setauket and one in St. James. She will share her story. She's absolutely a proud breast cancer survivor over 2 years now, just about 2 years now. She treated herself holistically, and her goal is to empower, inspire, and educate women about their choices, treatment protocols, and how to navigate the whole breast cancer system. She started a foundation called Pink Baskets, which is providing baskets for women undergoing mastectomies. She's also in the process of creating a support group that is uplifting and positive for breast cancer survivors, because too often it is the opposite. And we are currently all working together on taking her 6-week or 5-week, depending on how we do it, Shrink Your Body program online so that it can reach people around the country and around the world. Barbara designs nutrition and weight loss programs for corporations, for groups, for families, and for individuals, teaching them how to heal their bodies naturally through the food choices that they use, not medication. she truly believes that food is medicine, and I've seen that with my own family and the choices she's helped me make. So it's totally my pleasure and my honor to introduce my dear friend, Barbara Grova.
I'm not good with holding the microphone.
You know,
Thank you, Howie. I didn't really want to hold the microphone. So thank you so much, Howie, for having us on. And this is a wonderful platform for me to share my story, because by me sharing my story, that helps heal me and it inspires other women to do the same. So on July 7th, 2015, it's almost 2 years ago, I got a devastating phone call from my doctor saying that I had breast cancer. And the first thing you're afraid of, the first thing that happens is fear sets in. And I was alone in my house by myself, and I said, how was I gonna take care of my daughter? How was I gonna ever hold my daughter again? My biggest fear is my daughter wasn't gonna have a mother. How was I gonna tell my husband? How was I gonna tell my parents who are in their 80s? And one of the things the doctor said to me is that I had the best kind of cancer. Now, what kind of cancer is the best kind of cancer to have? And not only that, but she called me on the phone and told me she didn't have the decency to even call me into her office. So already my experience of aloneness had started, and my fear of what to do next. I kept it a secret for 9 months because I started reading all things about breast cancer, and then I started telling people, and they started telling me about people they knew that died of it, people that didn't survive, people that got it 3 times, and it continued the fear to set in. I'm a very positive person. I couldn't allow that fear to set in, so I decided to keep it a secret, and only my close friends, these 3 beautiful women up here, knew, and I had a small support system. One of the shocks is that I'm a holistic nutritionist, and how did it happen to me? But unfortunately, cancer doesn't discriminate. It doesn't run in my family. It doesn't discriminate. I have friends that have children that have it, so I knew that I needed to figure out what I was going to do on my journey. So the doctors, so as far as the doctors goes, I found it myself June 25th, exactly 2 years to the day. Today's my father's 80th birthday, and I found it on my father's birthday, and I found it myself. It was an indentation in my nipple. This is really important that you know this, because the doctor said I saved my own life. It was a slight indentation in my nipple. They sent me for a mammography, and the mammography showed nothing. I did the 3D mammography. They did a sonogram, and the sonogram barely showed anything. And I insisted on a biopsy, and the biopsy came back that I did have breast cancer. I did decide to go for 2 opinions. So it's not the warm and fuzzy feeling that you think when you get diagnosed, that everybody's going to act all loving and caring in the medical system. And I went to 2 different places, and one of the places I went to, I waited 4 hours for a doctor to finally see me. And I had my friend and my husband with me, and even by the time I got to the doctor, she was very rushed. I decided not to go there because I felt like I was only a number there, and that's a horrible feeling when you're diagnosed with a disease. So I ended up at another hospital, who the doctors were great, and I felt more comfortable with them. So when I went into this specific doctor, he said that I needed to have that I should have a mastectomy. And they asked me if I wanted to do a double mastectomy so I can make them both look the same. And I was not interested in doing that. But I'm a processor. I had to go home and process everything. I had to think about everything that they were telling me. Did I really need to do a mastectomy? And so I did decide to do a mastectomy, and I'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. But I also wanted to talk about one of the other doctors, the oncologist, because they wanted me to do chemo. And when he started talking to me, he said, well, you need to do chemo because it was in one of your lymph nodes. And I started to cry, and the first thing he said to me is that, do you want antidepressants? And I said, isn't it normal to cry when you tell somebody that you need to have chemo? And he said, yeah, but I want you to feel normal for a while. I'm like, well, what does normal feel like? So I left there, and I still had to process everything that they were talking about. I actually went on vacation when I was diagnosed, and got all the decisions from the doctors, I decided to go on vacation. And I told my family we already had a planned vacation. I wasn't going to cancel it. I needed to figure out what I was going to do and make the decisions that were best for me and for my body. And what I'm talking about tonight is really what was best for me, and not for it's not for everybody, but this is what I did, what was best for me. So it took 6 weeks before I made the final decision to have a mastectomy. And when they did the mastectomy, they found that there was one lymph node that also had cancer in it, which means that you are supposed to do chemo and radiation.